You, you, you are attractive. The only thing that happens when you negate this concept, this truth in your mind, if you were to say, seriously, if I say you are attractive, what do you do? What does your mind do? What do you construct? Because anything that negates what I just said is completely absurd. Notice I didn't tell you what you are attracting. The statement you are attractive in the circles that I have traveled in consistently means sort of a vague sense of an absolute, as if someone is attractive to everyone. Well, this is patently untrue. The truth is that people are attractive of exactly what mirrors what's here. What's here? Really. And when your heart is a mess, you attract a mess that reflects exactly the kind of mess that you are. That's base level. This is where we begin. And this is where I encourage you to embrace truth only. You have a certain investment every day. You have like a daily allowance of energy. And that allowance depends on how much you're struggling with everything that you carry from your past. To the extent that your past is littered with conflicts, you must learn to understand that those conflicts are actually present. They're not in your past. You made deals, often bad deals, in the past that you're carrying into now, and you recreate. And it's much more empowering to contemplate that you are recreating these deals every day when you wake up. Every day. We're going to begin with an ad. Thank you for the like. I appreciate it. I'm about to hit 1,000 subscribers. Could you help me? I need 10 more subscribers. I'd like to have a party Thursday night, which means I need 10 subscribers in 2 days. This has been happening plenty often lately. So if you could go a little bit out of your way to ask a friend or two to sign up and subscribe. I want to have a celebration Thursday night. It's my night off from parent duty. So that's an ideal time. And, I want to do it with a real reason. I want to be across the threshold. If I'm not, I think I'm going to try anyway, and I'll pepper people. I don't know. I do my best not to bother people for things like subscriptions and likes. But, there's a humility in saying, hey, I really want to meet this goal. Could you help me, please? Spread the word. I want to walk across this finish line. It's been a good goal for 3 years. That's less common than my birthday has been. So if you would please participate, and more importantly, please come to, I'm going to just Thursday night, I'm going to pour myself a drink, make a cookie or something, and come down here and hang out. Welcome. My name is Daniel. I am here to guide you as best I can in spiritual dynamics that give you access to leading a much better life. I believe what I've got to offer is phenomenal. I do my best not to indulge this part of my personality particularly often, but it's not so bad. It's not so bad to say these gifts are great. I want them to spread. I'm looking forward to years of reaching more and more people who I can help weave together as a community with standards that I believe are beautiful, that you deserve, where people treat each other much better than in many of the circles I've walked through in my life, where people are cherishing life, love every day. Here's the secret gift. The secret is that you attract much more by cherishing love than by manipulating it. There is a wide range of consistency to how people attract each other. if you have a basic level of intention that is essentially, survival of the fittest, like you're vying for credibility, position within a community in which it's a scarce resource. Some people are going to be popular and other people are going to be less popular. So within that, if you buy into that game, you're going to be a part of those rules. This is all law of attraction stuff, and it's law of attraction that creates walls around different whole categories of people and how you are attempting to manifest your life. So once you've gotten into a circle based on the fundamental character of your vibration, within that circle, you're surrounded by people who kind of reflect the same stuff to you. So it's, in many cases, reality. People think that they're just in reality and this is how reality works. Well, there are fundamental truths that are fairly consistent throughout reality on Earth. And there's a broad range of difference between different communities, and you can choose to change where you are based on how you pray. First of all, turtle, tortoise, patience. You need patience. If you're playing games where you want to be able to go out and get something tomorrow, you can use some of this insight. You'd be better off going to other, snazzier law of attraction style teachings just on YouTube, which will help you get your gimmicks in order, get yourself focused and consistent. When you're focused and consistent with how you invest your intentions become stronger. It's a very basic truth. The more you can get yourself aligned by not praying for contradictory things, even inadvertently, the more you can align yourself by gathering your intentions and getting them into the same harmony, the more it'll work, the more you'll get what you want. And I want you to have a wonderful life until you die. And I want you to die old. 120 with a good standard of living. You're still out there gardening at 112. This is the kind of beauty, the miraculous dreaming that I believe we need in order to stay vibrant and healthy. You don't make it, that's fine, but go for it. When you dream big and beautiful in a way that no one has to lose, it's all about your own standards and within yourself. That is creation. You're creating something that will magnetize to you, something that works with that. Now let's take a little bit of a step back. We're talking today explicitly about how attraction works in relationships. So I want to blend this meaning. There's an online consistency to what the law of attraction means. And I want you to blend that with what attraction means with a partner. There is a very basic level, deep truth in which everything in you is right here. It exists. If you imagine just a straight pole of energy from your crown to your root into the ground, everything that you are is resonating around this pole. Little vibrations. Imagine just tangled, moving around. And every vibration represents a different aspect of you, including everything that's unresolved from your past. Your challenge is to first learn to be honest with yourself about what you carry. Because when you're not honest with yourself, you are subconsciously doing the work to negate aspects of yourself that you don't like, and it's never particularly effective. What that means is you have to take some of your daily allowance of energy and use it to struggle, to silence, to shroud, to shadow aspects of yourself you prefer not to share. But the deep truth of your magnetism, of your attractiveness, is that every aspect of you is a magnet. It magnetizes harmony. It magnetizes other vibrations that can work together with it. And this is a universal truth. It's independent of morality. That means that violent people magnetize other violent people. Violent people who work in a particular way will blend in with violent people who work in a slightly different way, even when both of them have a much more fundamental commitment to violence than a lot of their peers. So on a practical level, that means if you react to adversity, like someone cuts you off on the highway with, "Motherfucker, I'm gonna bash you," that consistency of the reaction is going to magnetize other people like that. So you're going to get cut off more often. And you're going to get cut off in rhythm with a bad mood, meaning it'll happen more when you're pissy and unhappy. Think about the implications of this. When people typically talk about the law of attraction, even when people typically talk about trying to get yourself clear on who you're trying to attract as a partner, we don't often address the extent to which the truth about the rest of you is deeply aware of whatever your other intentions are. Which means as soon as you say, "I want to pray for this, this, and this, and this in a partner," all of your shadow self, everything about yourself that you're trying to hide from says, "I want to vote too. I want someone who can be depressed with me. I want someone who doesn't believe in me. I want someone who insults me when I make a mistake." Really, that's what happens. And it happens for a very simple and painful reason. When I was first learning to read energy, I was also getting into astrology. And there was a couple who were friends with my family. And we were all out. We went to a movie and we were talking at dinner beforehand and at the movie. And then afterwards we got together at my parents' house. And I was reading their energy and became absolutely convinced that they were each the other's astrological sign. And I was outraged internally. I was just like, but that's just not right, when they told me that it was the opposite. And it took me a while to gather that I was registering something deeply true. He was holding her energy and she was holding his. Think about that. Think about the implications of that. When we love, we're exchanging energy. When we love in partnership, where you're sleeping next to someone, often you're making love, there's a figure eight. There's an exchange of energy. And in that exchange, we blend on such a deep level that often people end up holding the other person's spirit resonant within their own energy field, more even than their own. Sometimes people want that, and sometimes people don't. It's a natural consequence of living together and blending on a daily basis. So when you talk with yourself about magnetizing in a partner, you have to be deeply, brutally honest with yourself about who you really are. It should be the first step. Now, this is a little different than self-improvement. This is not just about making yourself externally attractive. This is about the deep stuff. Absolutely. Get yourself, if it motivates you to get healthy because you want to be attractive to a partner, great. We're going to talk about the pitfalls of that in a couple minutes. But also, and perhaps even more importantly, start go to some therapy. Get yourself writing about your past. Really take the time to stare at your shadows, because your shadows are not hidden from your partners. Even if they are only semi-conscious, even if a new person who comes into your life can't fully articulate what's happening, they are deeply affected by the truth of your resonance. And you have to believe from the beginning that your resonance is magnetic. Everything about you is magnetic. And love, the deep kind of passionate love that people share when they live with each other and they set intentions to stay together, that kind of power will delve into all the hidden spaces. It's like a natural current. It's like water going downhill with gravity. Love will find the hidden recesses that are stuck. It will find every aspect of you that's wasted energy. And the first thing it'll do is bring it up a little. And when it brings it up, if your primary relationship to repressed aspects of yourself is a sort of a very consistent, that's not me, get that away, get rid of that, I'm over that, that was a long time ago, I no longer feel that way. The first place it goes is into the other person, into your partner. Your partner will end up embodying whatever you're hiding from. Now, look, don't get scared in that this is part of the deep power of love. Your only real choice in this is to commit to healing. That's all you have to do. That's the only thing you need to be triggered by if there's any fear in this realization of how much intimacy brings up all of it. When you commit to healing, you commit to tuning in to the way in which the shared holding of energy for the other person is going to catalyze in a way that's healthy. When you continue to hide from the truth of what you need to heal, you're going to get stuck in some majorly confused dynamics, which look borderline abusive on a consistent basis. So we're working together, ideally, with the people we love to expose the wounds in a way that we can heal them. Now think, in this moment, think about some of the worst interactions you've had over the past couple of years, worst fights. Just bring it into your consciousness. And we're drawing a sacred circle around this. I pray that each and every one of you learn to be present with the negative energy, the woundedness that inspired these fights, and learn to be present with it in a way that can help it heal. If you look at last week's trauma class, we talked a lot about what healing means. One of the crucial distinctions, particularly in attraction, is that this love is trying to bring up the problems so you can heal them. If your reaction together becomes a somewhat codependent, let's bring them up and then hold them down, your life will go like this. It'll go down. You will take more and more of your life force over time to simply hold in stasis the shared pain. And you'll do it with each other. You'll just keep doing that, which over time looks like you're throwing money down the drain. You're throwing your collective love, the investment of your life force, down the drain. All of this can be predicted from the beginning. This is where I want to go next after I say hi to you guys. I can't see the freaking screen. Well, good morning. Good morning to you. Hey, 3-3. Hey, Lucas. Hey, Om Dita. Good to see you. Glad to know you're here. The raw truth about loving well is that the transcendent, the best of love, the love that can take you into the memory of who we are, the love that can help each of us embrace ourselves as spiritual beings having a human experience, entering that space at the edge of the utmost fear, taking us to our utmost fears and a little bit beyond, where we can see this utter glory of existence and the beauty of living here. Remember choosing to live here, embrace it, and cherish it. This is what love can do at its best. And this is what love does when we attract someone who has a shared intention to heal. Now, I want you to really recognize this, because all of us attracts, all of us is magnetic. All the baggage we carry from our past, all the rhythms of our habits, all the goals that have been relatively consistent for any degree of time, It's all magnetic. It's all attractive. And it will always attract something that harmonizes with it if it can. But of course, you're attracting something that's in balance. So it's the totality of yourself, which means the people you attract won't necessarily match all of you. In fact, sometimes it's erratic. And the way the world works is some parts of you will win and attract someone, and you'll have a little time with another individual who reflects those parts, sings with those parts of you, harmonizes with just a part of your life force music. And then you'll attract someone else who reflects other parts. And then it's up to you to choose. Now, the base level choice is, who do you spend more time with? The second level choice is sort of the same but different. Even if you're spending your time together, where's your consciousness? Now, this is where, full disclosure, I'm learning. I'm sharing at the edge of my learning. I've been able to evolve into someone I really respect where I've gotten, particularly based on the lessons I've moved through. And I'm at a threshold where I'm learning how to improve myself dramatically, particularly in the past couple months. And that learning is, I'm bringing you guys to the edge of what I'm getting as well. And I always want to share with you when I'm learning to navigate through waters I haven't, fully mastered myself. In this, being present with how you are truly focusing your attention can help unveil to you what forces are actually strongest within you. Because there are tons of characteristics to the forces within ourselves that really matter. And when we dig into them and learn to recognize how we actually make choices, often our conscious intentions, the things that we reinforce with our minds and even get into our heart, are not reflecting the truth of what our whole spirit is saying. What that means is that despite the fact you keep trying to get a certain kind of relationship in your life, the world keeps giving you something else. And there is no advantage in feeling like a victim or bemoaning it. Because when you do, you obscure why. What you want, I promise you, what you want is to align yourself with the truth. What is the world really giving you? And within that, the greatest power you have is to shift the quality of your intention. This is a transcendence, and it's a transcendence that's available to everyone. And it's very simple. It works like this. Stop putting your list first. I'm not telling you to burn it. I'm saying stop putting your list of the characteristics you want in a person to be with, to share life with. Stop putting your list first. What you want to put first is your intention to learn together. Period. Period. Now, learn, we can flesh this out. Learn means, how do you learn to live well with each other? Now, this, when you put this in as a priority before your list, and you reinforce it, you have to remember it. You have to think about it. Not necessarily every day, but you really have to change your consciousness to align with this. You change what you play in. You change the field, the circle, and the walls around it. You change the law. Wall and law, backwards, flip. You change the law that bounds the basic level of your attraction into the world. So regardless of all your other problems, it's not about, do you have baggage? Of course you have baggage. No, you don't have to cleanse all your baggage before you find your relationship. In some cases, your relationship is going to be a primary catalyst for cleansing your baggage. You're looking for baggage that goes with yours. And if you don't set the intention to include a person who wants to learn and heal, you're going to get somebody whose baggage goes with yours, including their intention to obscure their healing process. Have you been in a relationship with consistent fights that don't get better? So you're having fights based in the same themes, based in the same kind of clashing, and they don't improve. For whatever reason, perhaps you try to heal, perhaps you talk about it in the same way afterwards. But regardless, you could trace, if you were honest with yourself, you could trace a consistent pattern to the rhythm of your ups and downs. Now, a lot of times in my experience, when I've been caught in this pattern, and I have, in several relationships, I have been caught in a pattern of fighting in the same way, and it didn't get better. And when I was in that kind of relationship, I tried to use my will to out positive the situation. And it would work eventually. But all it amounted to was a collective struggling the pain down. And the pain was not coming up because we were haunted or cursed. The pain was coming up because love itself, the real love we shared, was trying to bring it to the surface so we could heal it together. But we never developed the mechanisms to do that because we started with a false premise. We started with the premise of let's be together in our list. Let's look at lists. Lists are objective, meaning you're creating an object. You're creating a very simple concept, and that concept has a resonance, and you create it. Now, you might not think you created it, but you create it. What that means is if you imagine a persona in someone else, like imagine someone who you want to ice skate with, and you know you want to ice skate with them. When you imagine that, the vision that you might have in your mind's eye of doing that with them, that very vision has a resonance pattern. There's a music to it. You could measure it if you learned how. And when you map that resonance pattern, what you're actually doing is you're putting into play a little tiny resonance magnet that's going to magnetize someone else. Now, on the surface, this might look obvious. Will they actually do this with you? But the next level is they're going to do it in a way that matches the shared resonance. So that means that other person on some level has an objective investment as well. They are investing in their list with a consistent, concept of what they want. Now, it might be unconscious, but it's still happening. So they're essentially putting a bank account of their will every day into a place that ends up magnetizing you. Well, if the primary connection that brings you together is based in this kind of objective magnet, you won't be able to change it very easily. Because if you get pushed to deal with this fundamental attraction, there's nothing else holding you together. When a relationship is grounded in this way, you could spend your entire life in a deal that deteriorates. Your life force deteriorates, your joy, your vibrancy deteriorate, because the fundamental link that's holding you is not capable of dealing with what happens when pain and trauma come up. Now, most of you would agree that if you move through some level of hardship together and move through it, that often forges the kind of love and bonding that makes a much stronger relationship. Well, think about why. It's not just because you can trust each other more. It's because trust itself is a surrender beyond what you've known. The ability to let go of where you began and forge a new change together is very deep. And when you create a fundamental attraction magnet right now, regardless of who you are, regardless of your baggage, regardless of the challenges and the shames and the insecurities, if you start to cultivate a magnet that says, bring me someone who can heal and transform with me, bring me someone who can transcend the pains that I carry with me and create a new life, that becomes the first and foremost power in what you attract to you. Pitfall. This is not the same as saying, bring me someone who can make my pain okay. That's very different. That's an objective. And I don't mean this in the classic sense. I mean, it's an object. It's an energetic object to say, bring me someone who can take my pain away. People can do this. People can take your pain away. People can hold energy that's yours for you. That is a very low-level standard of what to share in a relationship, and people do it all the time. It's a fundamental characteristic of almost every relationship. The concern is to never allow it to be primary. You don't want that to be the primary exchange, because if it's the primary exchange, you're in trouble long-term. You're in trouble medium-term. What you want is to pray for someone who can help you bring up and hold your pain and heal it. That means you have a fundamental relationship with yourself where you're not trying to hide from the truth of who you are. And again, that is a decision. That is a choice that is up to you. You can choose. You don't have to put it in the future. You don't have to, speculate on who you'll become and work every day before you get to this. This is something you can do now. You choose now to be the kind of person that faces the truth about who you are. When you make that choice, you're no longer creating an anti-magnet, the kind of magnet that would attract someone who tries to take away your pain, and thus almost becomes, they become an enabler. They become someone who is actually a catalyst to obscure you from a good life. And if you both want that, you will find each other. Good morning, Mr. Coconut. I'm going to call you Mr. Coconut from now on. Hey, Larry, I'm so glad you're here. So, there's a passage. You're in a boat. There's a passage between two dangerous pieces of land. The current's strong through it. There's a monster on either side. One is an octopus that sucks in boats and crushes them. The other is a giant mer creature that has a huge spear with a rope on it and throws the spear at ships and drags them and destroys them. On either side of you is a monster, and you have to go right down the middle. If you notice one monster pulling you too much, you have to create distance from that monster without getting too close to the other. And there's a very narrow, tight, dangerous place where you can make it through. When you focus too much on negativity, negativity becomes more powerful. When you take your daily attention, you are taking part of your life force, the part that you can control most day to day, your attention, where your time is actually spent focusing. When you take that portion of your life force and focus exclusively or primarily or a lot on negativity, negativity becomes stronger. I'm telling you that sometimes you want to make negativity stronger because it brings it to the surface in a way that gives you the opportunity to heal it. And this exact dynamic, the simple tools that are intended as gifts to enable us to deal with things, can also have the reverse effect. And here's why. Energy exists. It exists. It's here. It's material. It's not fundamentally different than this. This is the wall is different in kind. But it's energy. This is just denser energy. When you create with your life force, you're creating something it's here. Once it's here, once it's present in this reality, it exists. Once it exists, it magnetizes things. This is simple but very daunting. So I invite you a little closer, all right? A little closer. Be present with this. When two negative energies get close to each other, they can dance. They can dance. Feels good. Negative and negative, like and like, can create a whole world around each other. And the pure energy, just the vibe itself, is just a vibe. It's just a vibe. Before you understand what it contains, before you understand its reaction patterns, before you tune in and listen to what's on the radio station, you have the frequency of the radio station. When you are just dealing with energy as a frequency, it's a much more neutral experience. You don't necessarily call it negative. And so when life force is woven into a vibe that is fundamentally unhealthy, but you don't necessarily recognize that in the art of its attractiveness. Because when you attract someone else and you feel it, sometimes that just overwhelms. How could something so wrong feel this right? Do you have some experience with this? The power of passion when you attract like is so strong that is often extremely difficult to change. And so your daily investment, the presence of you, gets caught up in patterns where you interact with other people who have similarly negative patterns, and you can't change it because it's like a groove in the sand. It's like a deep groove, and you can't seem to get your momentum out of that groove. You're used to it. It's comfortable. And people get caught up in sort of, well, go with the flow. Well, how did this flow get created? Because if you've lived a life where you're consistently having the same kind of relationships with the same kind of mistakes, and you can recognize honestly that they're not getting better, you have to change it through will. Sometimes going with the flow is not the right way. And this is where you can invest to make yourself much more attractive in the ways you want. What happens if there's a course of a river? I change metaphors all the time. I'm sorry. I enjoy it for whatever reason. When you're trying to describe something that's not physical or mental in many ways, we have to use several different ways to try to get at it. You've heard the elephant story. 3 blind men, one feels a tube, one feels a spear, and one feels a rubbery wall, and they're all feeling an elephant. This is why I change metaphors, just as a side note. We're trying to look at this from several different directions, and ultimately, I hope it catalyzes a personal relationship for you that please find ways to share when it's at the level of revelation. You'll help us all by introducing new ways to conceive and relate to these forces. Imagine a river. Now, if you look at this river from above, imagine it goes like windy, like really windy. And imagine you learn to recognize that this is both dangerous and wasteful. You're trying to go down this river, but you end up spending so much time because it's winding around like this. And really, it could go much more directly, or it could even go to a different destination if it was just for this one bend. But the water is so used to moving in this bend that you don't know how to change that. You have to do the work sometimes to bust out the embankment and carve a new place for the water to move. And when you do, sometimes it's messy. It floods for a while before it forges a new path. This is absolutely analogous to what people have to do to tune in and recreate yourself when you're stuck in negative patterns. You must trust that you are attractive. You are very attractive. You may well be negating your attractiveness because your attractiveness is not necessarily attracting what you want to attract, because your attractiveness is the sum totality of your energy, of your presence, of your resonance. And that totality includes all your baggage. And if your baggage is forged into these particular patterns, you have to do the work to change it. And this is where you can get to work now. If you want to attract a different partner or you want to attract a much deeper, more beautiful magnetism with your current partner, you need to get to work digging into the ways in which you're stuck in patterns that you haven't known how to change. It's so difficult to recognize something that's been habitual for a long time. But the intention to do so has a magnificent impact on making it more effective. So right here together, let's create a shared intention that we all, in our presence, support each other in this. Because I'm absolutely learning a lot of lessons on how to do this within a relationship. I feel quite qualified to help people find a healthy relationship, a relationship that's suited for you, and to help you trust that. The art of having an ongoing relationship that changes, I would never presume to be done. Because it's always bringing us to new thresholds. And I'm in the middle of some new thresholds right now. But here's what those challenges look like. Which of my patterns are stuck in a way that's inhibiting the health of this? The classic place to look is the breakdowns. If you look honestly at places where things break down, then you look honestly at the clothes you put on them. How do you interpret your clashes? How do you remember them? What are you introducing that's up to you, that you could change based on how you say, this is happening because this is happening because I, blame in one way or the other. Can you look honestly into that? Look honestly into it, whether it's a current relationship or a past relationship, and say, what energy did I bring into that equation? Now, the primary way I find that this is challenging for people is that often people have rested on blame, even for decades, for the breakdowns in old relationships. And particularly when it's something obvious, like the other person's been outright abusive. It's really easy to retain a memory of the falling apart of a relationship with them as the problem. And I'm going to use an example that has been profoundly impacting on me. I had a relationship in which the woman I was with was extraordinarily hypnotically beautiful to me, older and more experienced, and she got really angry at me. And she would get angry at me in a way that was not only out of proportion with the circumstances, in my opinion, but it seemed like she just was incapable of reflecting on it and changing it. And so I was able to retain the sense for years that, like, this was so unfair. I was basically a victim in it. And yet I could remember the still small voice saying, she was getting very angry at me on a regular basis because I was so out of touch. And she was suggesting that I was contributing to making choices together that put us into, extremely volatile situations because I was so out of touch. And she was angry at me for not being more present. Well, I considered that an outrage. I was doing my best to be present. But the reality was I was deeply out of awareness of the world around me. And being unwilling to address that, I was bringing into the equation a fundamental instability. I had blind spots, big blind spots. And when I was hit, it's like I used to drive. I don't drive anymore because I see so poorly because I have major blind spots when I drive. And I got in a fair number of little accidents and a big one in which I totaled the car. Young, like a lot younger. Well, years later, I finally gave up on driving because I came to realize that I actually wasn't seeing nearly as much as other people saw. This was true of me as emotionally as well, that I had significant blind spots that I just couldn't see in, and I was hitting things. And she was getting hurt, and I was hitting things, and I was going on as if I didn't have blind spots. And I share this example because I think it's a really classic way in which seemingly good people make terrible mistakes and end up holding on to blame of someone else in a way that they even buy into. This woman wrote me years later and apologized for how mean she'd been to me. And I couldn't receive it, probably because she had let go of demanding I understand something that I hadn't learned yet, which was that I had major blind spots that I wasn't learning to take responsibility for. How is this true of you? To me, this seems like a pretty generic example in the end of the day, because I can say to most of you, can you look at yourself honestly and identify ways in which weird stuff happens around you, painful stuff happens around you? And I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm suggesting that you are bringing energy into the equation that attracts those things, particularly if they happen over and over again. Part of you is magnetizing that situation. What do you have to learn? If you take ownership over that, pull energy out of any blame you've got from the past. There is so much work you can accomplish by looking at X's. If you look at those relationships, you can change how you remember them. You don't have to write them and apologize. Don't. You could do that a year from now or never. That's not the point. In your heart, how do you remember your ex relationships? Can you pull the blame out of it and turn all that energy of the blame into a question? What do I have to learn that I was missing? This work will attract a much better partner. And it doesn't have to succeed yet. Just committing to doing it will help you magnetize a different kind of relationship to you. Or it will help change the fundamental dynamics of the relationship you're in. Because it's the person you sleep next to, make love with. It's the person you sleep with that is most affected by your spirit. You might think you're thinking about someone from the past, but if you try to fight with someone from your past and then be nice to someone you're with, you're mistaking how energy works. If you're fighting someone from your past, you're fighting the person with you. They're giving you. Have you ever seen this? Like boxers have, like they have someone who holds up a punching bag to give them a little movement or something. Your partner has to do that for you in every way in which you're continuing to resent the people in your past, because the people in your past are not nearly as present. It's your partner whose spirit has to balance you. It's your partner who receives the whole of you or is trying to. So for your own sake with someone, committing to changing your relationship to how you remember pain from your past will have a dramatic effect in how you change your attractiveness right now. Hey, Maha, welcome. I'm so good to see you. Glad you're here. Bless you guys. I'm going to take another pause. I want to reinforce something because some of my favorite people are here. And I just want to say again, I'm 10 people away from having 1,000 subscribers. I love this. I love this in part because I feel like a part of something on YouTube. It's like I'm Goldilocks, okay? I've been pouting and throwing little temper tantrums in the world for 2 decades, trying to find a place where I fit in. And I've tried this and I've tried that. And I stayed at Harbin Hot Springs and I stayed at the White Buffalo Farm and I stayed in Mount Shasta and I stayed in this wildflower garden and I stayed in this extraordinary olive garden and I worked at this healing center in Berkeley and I worked at this healing center in Arizona. And I never fit. Then I came to Ithaca and I started teaching here and it just never fit. I taught at the gym. I got my own office. I got another office. It never fit. YouTube, I love it. I love it. It's the perfect balance. And so succeeding here feels great. And increasingly, I feel like I'm succeeding in exactly the ways that matter the most. I'm finding more and more people steadily who I appreciate a lot. Like when you show up and you comment, I smile. Like it really feels great. I'm also noticing that I have some relatively effective ways of pushing away people who don't fit in. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm not magnetizing people to fight with, which means I'm doing a good job of not needing people to fight with. I'm not attracting the kind of heckler that triggers me or anything like that. And when people are negative, I just kind of mostly shrug it off and they seem to go away. So I'm getting denser, like I'm getting a more present level of great people. And I'm only going to continue to explore how to work well with you, get you to potentially work with each other, maybe even come up with collaborations in the future, which I'm always open to. So that starts in a couple of ways. Can you do a little push and help me get 10 more subscribers by Thursday night? I want to have a party Thursday night, just a live cast and get a drink and a snack. And I don't know what I'll do. I'll try to come up with something cool to share that I haven't shared in a while and just chat. But I'd love to have 1,000 by then. So I need 10 more. If you could spread the word a bit, I'd be totally grateful. It'd be very exciting. Also, I feel like this has a lot to do with attraction in that I am literally learning to attract the kind of people that I want to share with and teach. I used to go through all these business coaching things where they really wanted me to define very clearly who I was going for as clients and who my work was intended to reach. And I was always like, I can help so many different kinds of people. I was vaguely, I don't even know how to characterize it, but I wasn't willing to be specific. And I'm finding that there's a real consistency to the kind of people I like working with, and you're it. I love it. It's a lot of fun, and it's increasingly easy to cherish, allowing my dreams to transform in ways that I can't recognize and be present with the joy day to day of it. The simple aspects of things that, I used to be like, oh, I'm above the numbers. I will just do what is good for the world. And I feel like the world's like, hey, would you play some games, please? Like, could you have more fun? Could you enjoy this? How about try YouTube? It's really fun when you reach 1,000 subscribers. All of a sudden, by the way, once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I can start selling books and t-shirts below my videos. I think that's kind of cool, to be honest. I'm in the works. I've got some art coming. I'm going to make some t-shirts. My book's really and truly almost done. And we're going to put it up there. So it's going to be it's a cool threshold to pass. And I feel like I can participate with other people who I respect. People who seemingly quite different, but all developing small businesses on YouTube based on this premise of, incidentally, I'm sharing everything with you guys. I'm sharing everything. And apparently this is kind of consistent. Like, I share everything. And then my business model is to charge for sessions and coaching groups into using it. And if you want to use it, it's here. I'm not really hiding my biggest secrets. Some of them I haven't shared yet, only because I need to create foundations. But I have no intention of and for the next hidden piece, pay me $9.99 at this minute. Basically, you can pay me if you want my guidance for how to use what I'm sharing. Well, this is a very authentic, transparent model. It's something I've always gravitated towards, and it's something that a lot of other YouTube businesses do. And they're very intentional about it. They talk about it. So I find myself listening to YouTube consultants who are saying things that absolutely fit into my spiritual healing business model. So it's a thrill to be a part of something in a way that works and to smile about it. Just feel that ease of, hey, don't have to fight everything in the world. The world is really changing in ways that I can enjoy. Hey, Sai. Oh, wow. Lots of comments. Yay. Too. I wish you could have been here earlier too, but go back and listen. It'll hopefully be worth it. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Maha. I'm really pleased with this one too. We're getting into some great territory. Thank you for being here. Larry, I'm so glad to have you here. I love, I've wanted to visit your area of Canada for quite a while. I love knowing that you're out there meditating, having a great life with some good tea. I imagine you've seen the water. Do you live near the water? Because that's for some reason I have that vision of you. And Larry, please share your vision in some way or another, whether you just make a comment here or in a bit. All right, guys, guess what? How are we doing? Perfect timing. I'm going to transition into questions, and I think this is such a rich topic, and I'm so excited to have laid enough of a foundation. I feel like we can get into depths that are really quite special, and as much as possible, try to come up with questions about this. If you have questions about other stuff, save them a bit. Maybe there'll be time in between. I will include that when I do readings later at the end, I'm going to try to ask you to focus on readings with a question about you and attraction. So whether that's within the relationship you're in or trying to find a new relationship, and I want to kind of make it more themed and tailored because I'm thinking about how to carry these classes on for a long time and how to make it rich and take people deeper. You know, some of you are coming so consistently that I want to begin thinking about how can I build with you. You know, I try to communicate in a way that if there's a new person who shows up, they could fit in and get it. But I'm honestly more inspired for, you know, what we do over time when there's a shared language and a little bit of shared experience. So I want to take today as an opportunity to help you answer even more specific questions if you have them. Question time. Please share if you've got them. Kavitha, good to see you. Haven't been here in a bit, or at least you have commented a bit. I'm glad you're here. And there you go. Yep, there will be readings. Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't put the readings in. Thought so, Larry. So, question time. I'm really excited. I'm really excited. Oh my goodness, you know, I'm convinced that the heart of this class is one of the most essential missing teachings. I tried to get into it with the missing lesson video that I made a couple weeks ago. And today has been an intention to take it this much deeper. And it does apply to relationships and other things. This deep, visceral awareness that I hope to teach, that everything about you is with you. Your past is present. One of my greatest teachers, Carolyn Meese, talked about your biography is biology. Whatever story you consistently tell yourself shapes your body, because mind creates spiritual resonance that reshapes your body. So you hold in your body your past. It's present. The past is present. And when the past is present, it's part of your magnet. You are attracting everything that you carry from your past. And it's so crucial that you understand that the story you're telling yourself about your past, that's where your power is. It's just a story. It's not true. You can change it. And when you change it, you start to attract very different kinds of people and patterns and opportunities and love. What is the cause of people abruptly disconnecting and leaving in your life? So, wow. You know, I had a very difficult morning for various reasons that I won't get into. But I will say that when I tuned into it, I got that it was really important that I keep saying in class today that there are some things that are bringing me to my edge. When I'm at my edge, I'm sharing from a place that I'm less confident in. And I think there's more value in me being humble and vulnerable by suggesting that here's my truth. I don't necessarily like it, but this is who I am. So I'm going to answer that question in a way that might end up being a little painful for me. I used to try too hard. I used to have a sense of love as trying really hard to love. And my version of trying really hard was if pain would come up, I would just go, love, love, be loving, put up with the pain. It was an attempt to use my youthful will. Once I shifted my attitude and said, I'm really not working for the right reasons in the right ways. I was attracting people who were magnetized to my pain. My pain was magnetized to their pain. And no amount of positivity was going to heal that stuff. And we didn't seem to know how to heal together. So when I learned that, I made an abrupt face. I just started leaving. And when I left, it got better frequently. Now, unfortunately, I typically encountered new relationships with similar patterns. What my experience was, it did get better over time. I learned a little more each time. When I left in that way, I was doing the best I could based in my limitations. I had a very limited awareness of some of the things that were wrong. I had blind spots that made it hard for me to see honestly into my participation in negative situations. And I felt like I'd tried my best. I'd done everything I could, and it just got worse. The most common painful dynamic that I experienced was that I would raise the things that matter to me, and they would immediately get worse without getting better. So it didn't feel like I was bringing up a problem and carrying the will to heal it. It just felt like torture. So I needed a boundary, and I identified that boundary in relation to these other people. Now, here's the painful part of that. In most of these cases, I would say there was a fair amount of projection on my part, meaning the person I was fighting with was embodying some of my own self-judgment. And I was trying to escape my own self-judgment. When I said no to them, I was attempting to say no to something in myself. Well, in a way it worked, because I did over time diminish the power of these parts of myself. By saying I will not put up with being treated like that, I actually really did develop the strength to not allow forces like that to rule my life and my decisions. But it came at a cost. I was losing people in a way that I haven't really been able to reclaim. Now, in most of these cases, I'm on decent, hi, how are you? I hope your life is good terms with them. But it's important to say honestly that I think it was my own level of projection I was most trying to escape. And that's my answer to you, that when people draw a harsh boundary, it means they're insecure and they're trying to escape a part of themselves. And it's really important that you do this. When people tell you no severely and harshly, let the fundamental truth of what they're doing be how you love them. They're scared and they want a boundary. The best way to love them is to respect that boundary. And the best way to love yourself is to know it's more about them than you. Like the fact that it was harsh, the fact that it was not graceful, the fact that it didn't come with gratitude to you for the love that you did share is not your fault. And what you can do is you're saying, I will not own your energy. And likely as not, you were owning some of their energy. Likely as not, you were holding some of their pain. Don't keep doing it. It's really important. Just to weave that out a little further, and please, more questions on law of attractiveness and relationships and such. The gift of helping someone establish a boundary in that way is super profound. For me, it was tremendous when people respected my boundaries in those ways. And it gave me space to be grateful for them. And I really did struggle to learn to say, the fundamental thing I remember you by is gratitude. And the only way that worked is if they agreed to just let me go. And in that letting go, I was able to develop space to change. And it's all about changing the course of this river. My river flowed in certain patterns. It wasn't their fault that I was magnetizing them. And that was my baggage. Their baggage was their baggage. My baggage was my baggage. So when you do this, what you're saying is, I no longer want to work my baggage out with you. When you say, but this is my baggage. See, you owning your baggage disconnects you from the shared baggage thing. Typically in relationships, but particularly in dysfunctional relationships, people put their baggage together, and there's a real strong desire to not know whose baggage is whose. You're trying to escape your baggage. So putting it together in a negative ball and then kind of passing that ball back and forth is really common. When you say, I take my baggage back from that equation, there's your power. As long as you stop projecting on them, you're going to be able to disengage. And then right away, you pray for help. You pray for help honestly, saying, please help me heal this baggage. Please bring me the support to heal this baggage in a way that makes me more available for a better relationship. And likely as not, that means you need some support from people who aren't love, sex partners that will free you up to be less of a burden to a different partner in the future, where you get to have a higher degree of intimacy and love and trust with less negative energy in there. And the supporting relationships that help you transform that energy and heal it also become a blessing, because no one is overwhelmed or overburdened. So when people ask for a boundary, even if they do it in a really shitty way, get yourself into that love space where you say, okay, the deal's over. I'm not going to hold that. I'm not going to carry your negativity, but I do respect that you don't want to work it out with me. So may your projections bounce back to you. And I will now pray for the healing relationships that will help me, preferably better than anything we were able to face or do together. I'm glad you're here, Larry. Oh my God. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, Omdita. To me, yoga it's the primary gift. Yoga means union with God. So when you make that union tangible by practicing consistently and developing your relationship to yourself, what you're doing is you're agreeing to channel the energies within yourself and use your daily will to hold them and heal them. One of the best yoga poses in my experience is a low lunge where you work on learning to lift your knee and doing lion pose. Sorry if that scared you. When you do that, what you're doing is you're saying all this rage that I feel, and come on, all of you feel rage sometimes. All this rage that I feel, I'm going to use my strength to learn to hold it still and channel it. Yoga helps you channel your greatest negative feelings. The most painful relationship that I've been in which I exposed the deepest trauma within me. When I broke up, I was feeling I was in hell. Like I wasn't at death's door. I was behind death's door, and I was trapped. And that is when I did a month-long yoga training. And life never was that bad again, because I learned to take the raw presence of my negative feelings and I transitioned my focus from emotion into physical. Now, my emotions were still circulating, but what I did was I changed the dominance. So I made the physical and the spiritual resonance be more dominant than the emotional, which gave the emotional freedom to express itself. The key, you don't want to just tackle your negative emotions. None of this works if you're in this consistent new age. There's such a common thing. People will say, oh, I had to leave all these toxic people. Fuck you. You're toxic too. Everybody's toxic. If you're with toxic people, you were toxic. The only distinction is, do you want to heal or not? The second you want to heal, you're in a different zone. That's it. It's a profoundly different wall. I can't emphasize this enough. The law of attraction, the wall of attraction. You can transition to an entirely different energy field just by saying, I own my own energy, I do not own yours. Once you do that, that's where the toxicity distinction matters the most, because you're no longer denying the truth. If there's anything that you could call toxic, denying the truth is the worst. So actively pretending that everybody else is the problem is the problem. That's the biggest problem, and it's so easy to change. That's the beauty of this. It's so easy to change. All it involves is honesty. For me, yoga is the most honest. It's the most honest medicine for this possible, because you can take all that negative energy that perhaps you've been trying to hide from or fight other people with and throw around, bounce around in anger balls, and transition it You own it, but you immediately say, but I'm going to channel it with physical and spiritual focus. And in that physical and spiritual focus, one of the greatest gifts of yoga that I think is not touted enough is that when you are engaged in a physical spiritual practice, you can let your mind and your emotions go wild. As long as you don't stop, as long as you keep practicing, you can let your mind and emotions do whatever they need to do. They get the freedom of not having to be in charge. And when they have that freedom, you begin to heal. You begin to integrate. You begin to align them and harmonize them with the strength of your will right now and the developing practice that you're engaged in. And this is nothing to do with how deep you bend. This has nothing to do with how strong you are. This has everything to do with just your edge. Now, if you did the yoga class yesterday, if you didn't do the yoga class yesterday, I highly encourage it. I've had several people ask me to get them a little shorter. And I really wanted to get the longer practices down so I can give them to people occasionally, but I'm going to try to stick to an hour on Monday. Yesterday's was great, in my opinion. And a consistent theme in there is learning to be present with your feelings in a way that is dynamic. So you can allow yourself to change how you're moving. You can give yourself the freedom to be still or to transition between poses. So your body and your spirit can keep making these choices, and you can keep this attention in how you're shaping your practice in a way that frees up space for your emotions to live. That doesn't work if you don't participate in making the choices. And that's why I try to teach the way I do, in that I'm consistently trying to give you a range of choice. You can go at a level more difficult. You can move between two poses, difficult and less difficult, difficult and less difficult, and find your exact range of ability for you to find your edge. And then you can go left, right, left, right. All of this time are opportunities for your breath to drive you. And when your breath drives your movement, it brings up your feelings. When you bring up your feelings and create space where you can feel them, and yet you feel strong enough where you don't get this daunting sense like your emotion is going to annihilate you. That's exactly when your emotions start to trust you. And believe me, this is a real issue, because emotions, wounded emotions, they want to dominate. They want to be Kali. They want to take over everything so they'll never get hurt again. That's why they get so strong. They're not evil. They're just not really qualified to be at the driver's wheel. So what you want to do on your own time, when you're safe, you want to give space for your vulnerable, wounded feelings to go. And now I'm going to do it. Okay. And you channel that energy. You give it space to realize that you can be your full, deep strength. You can feel that life force coursing through you. And yet you don't annihilate everything. You don't actually hurt everyone else. Because be honest with yourself. If you have any part of you that's afraid that you're too much, how many people here are like this? Probably a lot of you. You've been afraid that you're too much for the people around you. Huh? Oh, it's you, right? You've been afraid that you're too much to bear. No one can handle you, right? Uh-huh. Be honest. You wanted that. Be honest. You wanted that. You're also the person that wanted to be so strong that no one could hurt you again. It's a common thing, particularly in the kind of people that I love to attract. It's certainly what I've gone through. So in my opinion, yoga is the best medicine for this. The yoga practice, and a little biased, but chakra yoga practice, where you integrate this awareness for spiritual resonance and use it to help you change your life. Oh my gosh. Oh, Dita, that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Please, I am so supportive of that. And oh, great. These comments are you, so I can stick with this theme. Book's almost done. It'll make a lot more sense in the book. I give a page of suggestions for how to develop a yoga practice for each chakra based in different circumstances. They're basic suggestions based on just the standing and flower exercises, but if you get what I'm doing, then you can apply and add all the other exercises. When you start designing yoga practices around healing emotional cycles, the art of this is just gorgeous. And my hope, my dream, my prayer is to give you the foundations of how to make your own music in this way. And frankly, I consider this a really daring, beautiful calling in that I don't know many other yoga teachers who are doing it. And, I don't mean to be egoic in that way, but I was praying for something really edgy and wild and wonderful to do with my life. That was how I got to where I am. I was trying to get, into an extreme space. And my desire is to give you the tools to help you make your own awesome dances. And in any way that I'm part of that, that's where I'm proud. So I envision helping people make lattices that around which your plants grow beyond the limits of the lattice and in wild and wonderful and beautiful ways that are all you. If I can support you, I'm really psyched. Low lug. I love it. 1111. Oh, thank you. And Larry, all right, since no one's asking questions about anything else, I'm going to keep babbling about yoga because I'm getting increasingly excited about this. I have a yoga channel, Yoga with Kaya, that I made and then buried, and I'm not going to use it. I'm going to do the yoga here. I'm going to do a class every week on Mondays at 3:30 indefinitely. I'm just going to keep doing this. The integration is, I believe, awesome in that a lot of people are very hard on themselves for not being able to maintain a consistent practice. And I have found that a big part of that is because they're trying to practice something that is not actually best for them, for you. So what I'm trying to do, if you look at a range of the classes I'm putting up, I'm trying to teach people how to make choices. What that means is you always have choice of, are you going to be up or down? Are you going to work left to right or primarily laterally in terms of like going deeper into a pose or going back, forward, back, bend, up? Are you going to be still or are you going to move a lot? Are you going to be vigorous in your movement or are you going to be slow? When you choose between these polarities, you can start by going back and forth. By giving yourself the self-respect that your resistance might be smart. Your resistance is often telling you something about what you really need. Your mind is often trying to tell you to do something that isn't really what you need. And if you doubt your mind and respect your unexplained resistance and create space for it to talk to you, you might discover miracles. People who dominate their resistance and force themselves to do things, this is not what we're going for. I've been that guy. I was able to force myself through all sorts of limits, and there was value in it, particularly when I was in my 20s. I was able to push my limits and find them. But Iyengar says, when I was young, I strived. When I was old, I stayed. When you learn how to stay in what you really need, a lot changes. And in my experience, the best way to find that is to seek it. Don't tell yourself what you're going to do. Don't tell yourself to do my full practice every Monday. Maybe one of the other practices will be preferable. Maybe you need something more yin. Maybe you need something more yang. Maybe you need something more wild where it changes and you find your own rhythm. If you give your resistance the respect that it needs to be in a conversation with you, you might discover miracles. And you might discover that the reason you were resisting doing the practice is because you were going to do the wrong practice. Well, I'm trying to teach in a way that says, get on the mat. Get on the mat. Now, you've got these choices. Some part of you might be saying, I don't want to do this. Let's respect that part of you. Let's say, maybe you're smart. What do you got to tell me? Well, let's coax that part. Would you be still? Okay. Would you move? Do you want to keep moving, or do you want to be still in this other pose? Do you need more of a challenge? Do you want to be a little more aerobic? Okay, do this. Wait, you didn't like that. Okay, let's slow down. Do you want to stay in this pose? What I end up discovering is that by going between these polarities a fair amount, I end up having a conversation with my body. And this is the best art form that I know, to have this conversation where I'm giving myself multiple opportunities of choices, and it allows my breath to start to liberate itself. And by refusing to be too much of a dictator, demanding that I do this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and this timing, I liberate the wildness. And I don't have much trouble getting myself to do my practices anymore. So I really hope that I'm imparting that gift to you guys. How am I, Bruceness? I am. Oh, first, I'll answer that in a second. Incidentally, Larry, I'm an Aries, Sagittarius. Oh, wow. Thank you, Omdita. I'm telling you, like, since last fall, my psyche is going through a change. And I will answer your comment and Brisnes's at the same time. Since last fall, my psyche is going through one of the best changes of my life. When I was, I don't know, 26, I started throwing out my mail. I was living in this house by myself, practicing yoga for the first time. I was starting at 25. I was starting to practice yoga, and I was getting some bills, and I started throwing out my mail. I started saying, anything that makes me feel this bad, I refuse to be a part of it. And so I would rip them in half. That really worked for me. I eliminated that kind of guilt and shame from my life. I didn't make much money for a long time, and I was sort of driven to the edge of survival. But I staked my claim to saying, I'm only going to live a life that I love. I'm only going to do a job that I love. So I started to become a healer. I did a Reiki training. I did a yoga training. I did workshops and other workshops. And I worked at Holistic Center and another Holistic Center. And I started getting better at it. But then, honestly, I noticed what I thought was a horrible pattern, where people were sick and they were coming to healers. And there was this, what I like to call the kind of 1960s, 1970s white guru phenomenon, where they liked the attention so much that, in my opinion, they had a vested interest in keeping people sick, because they wanted the money and the attention. And the sick people liked it because this person helped them feel stable. So it wasn't like a totally unfair deal, but I'm like, this can't be the best. And I wanted the best dream for the world. See, I also really love the earth. I always loved the earth. I had a map of the world on my wall. With the first room, when I was allowed to put up wallpaper, I chose wallpaper, floor to ceiling map of the world. And I had atlases, and I studied different cultures all my life. And I loved the earth. And increasingly, I loved the earth without the boundaries. I started to resent the boundaries on the map. I really hated them. It's like, why do I have to stare at this map? And I'm seeing these boundaries. They don't exist. That's not what the earth made. That's not the primary thing. The birds don't see those fucking borders. Why do I have to see them so prominently on this map? So I started liking maps without boundaries. And when you start to look at maps without boundaries, you start to see the rivers and the lakes. And then you start to learn, like, the Aral Sea in the Soviet Union, it's almost gone. The Gulf Stream headwaters, the boot of New Orleans, almost gone. That whole region of the Gulf, still oil and Corexit and poison all over it. So you start to really become aware of all the pollution. So I prayed my ass off for how I could help that. And I got this really simple connection that The reason people pollute and numb themselves to the damage around them, the reason people consume in a way that is abusive to the earth is because they're suffering. Nobody does that unless they're suffering. Nobody takes those risks unless they're suffering. When you're not numb, you actually start to pay attention to the damage you do. You don't abuse animals. You don't abuse even the water because you start to feel it. You start to sense it. You care. But the only way to get people to care more is to help them heal. So then I circled back to my healing gifts and I said, I want to help people heal in the best ways possible. No degree of, I don't want anything false in it. I don't want to ever make people dependent for the wrong reasons, because I really want to help people heal. I want people to be healthy and strong and vibrant and alive, so we can somehow collaborate. So I want to combine my healing gifts in a form where, yeah, I can help you face the pain, but the same skills will help you get stronger and stronger and stronger. So I never have a vested, even business financial interest in keeping people sick, because I can take you on this whole arc ultimately to the point where, hey, if you get so healthy and strong with these systems, let's do something together. Let's, do a teacher training or something with me, and we'll go on into the future and expand. Well, when I stared at that, I ended up sort of confronting the sense that it's a bit of a pyramid scheme right now. Like the system that I came into was like, you do yoga, you take classes, yoga classes, and then you find a better teacher, an alpha teacher to do a training with. And you got 30 people, 40 people doing a training together, and all of them are supposed to go get students. But it's a pyramid scheme. Like, most of those people don't make a living doing a yoga training. So either you're honest that you're not going to be a yoga teacher, even though this is like totally inspiring and you're going to a yoga training to learn how to be a yoga teacher, or you buy into a system that funnels people into these trainings where it's like, look, if I'm good at what I do, if I'm really good at what I do, and I can teach you to be good at it, why don't I have enough confidence to somehow invest in you? Like, I'm going to invest in you with the trust that enough of you are going to get good at this. It'll come back. But I'm not putting a gate at every door. I'm not putting a toll booth at every place in which we share information, which frankly is tedious to me. I don't really like the administration of like gathering checks and like, so I never found a model that worked, because every time I offered things by donation, I felt like I wasn't taking it seriously. And when I offered things for pay, it works, but I never felt at peace. And now I do. This model is awesome because I don't have to repeat myself. I have all these classes. They're all recorded. I'm sharing them. It's no skin off my back once I've done it. I'm giving my time. I'm investing in you. Ideally, though, you're learning this stuff. You'll tell people you love about it, and some of them will come to me in business opportunities. And lo and behold, it's exactly the same business model that a lot of people on YouTube use. And I feel like it's the way to help the world heal. I think it's the best way to help the world heal. Because if you really come down to it, if you care a lot about the earth, if you care a lot about the suffering that's happening in the world, which is more important, making the biggest name for yourself possible, making the biggest funnels of financial success into every aspect of what you do, or making the most healing possible in the world. Well, the most healing invariably doesn't get bottlenecked in individuals. It's a community that spreads and grows and empowers people. Nobody should be stuck in their healing process just because a teacher's sort of in their way, liking them to be a devotee or something like that. I want to influence everyone as best I can at exactly your edge. Be here to support you when you need it. Be here to cheer you on when you learn how to explore in ways that I've never seen. So it's really fun for me to celebrate. I feel like it's a nice time to share that. So thank you for asking these questions. You guys are awesome. Bless you, Liddy. All right, so I'm going to do readings in a little bit, or very, very shortly. One thing I'll say is, again, now I'm going to save this for the celebration. Thursday night, I want to have 10 more freaking subscribers by Thursday night. If you all could ask a couple friends to subscribe, or some of you could, it's 10. We could do this. I got 15 subscribers on the weekend. So 10 more subscribers. We'll hit 1,000, have a celebration Thursday night. And I've got some things I want to share with you then. Business, absolutely. And in fact, one of the things that's coming soon is, I when I do healing sessions on people, I use Reiki. Reiki training was one of my first healing gifts. And the simplicity of a key ring Reiki treatment is phenomenal. It's really easy, straightforward. You do need to be Reiki attuned on some level, but really only Reiki 1. And I'm excited to start doing videos on how to use it because I think you'll be able to apply it immediately. Readings time, I think. Oh, yeah, readings time. Readings time. May our presence, may our shared community be a blessing to each other. May we support each other in the healthiest steps each of us can take in our lives. May we support each other in facing the wounds, the confused stories, the baggage of the past in a way that liberates each of us to love the people we love in much healthier and more beautiful ways, and to attract new partners in the case where that is what you need. Please let me know if you want a reading, and particularly if you have a question, a reading that can help you with a question about your relationship issues and challenges. Yep. Well, Lucas, unbeknownst to you, you just gave yourself a reading. I love it when you say your orange chakra. Your sacral chakra is your intimacy with one other person. I want you to imagine a fire coming out of the earth and then 2 flames that are near each other dancing. So when you are intimate in your second chakra, I find that to be a really powerful metaphor. You are exchanging one-on-one with other people, and you are living with a sense that loving them means holding their pain. The reason you're having trouble here is because you are not owning your power enough. You're like a really strong person who carries a little more than they can carry. Really, that's you. You must trust that sometimes the best way to love someone else is to tell them, no, I'm not going to hold that for you. No, I'm not going to ease your loneliness right now. And you do that by praying to actually help catalyze their healing. You reinforce that several times a week. I really encourage you to do a consistent practice, spiritual practice, ideally including some yoga, 5 minutes of meditation, and in that meditation include a prayer that you become someone who really helps people heal. When you pray to really help people heal, sometimes you need to tell them no. You don't really know when to do that yet, but you must introduce the prayer to do that at the right time, at the right times. And then trust the lessons you start to learn. And you will learn when to prioritize yourself and say no, and learn to recognize that that is often the most loving thing you can do. Now, you in particular are confused in your mind because you're often holding energy that is not your own. There's a particular kind of confusion that you can't resolve. You struggle with it, and it's like a chaotic wrestling match. You know it. Most of you probably do. It's the telltale sign of a sort of dysfunctional healing gift, where you're holding someone else's negative spirit and they're trying to repress it. They're trying to get rid of it. They're not trying to heal it right now. It's the exact time when you need to say no to that person and pray for them. You say no, you bounce their energy, and then you pray with compassion. Until you do this, Lucas, you're going to keep attracting other people into your deep, intimate space. You're using the space in yourself that you need to share with one-on-one partner. And you're using that as a dysfunctional healer, where you're letting people go as deep as possible because this is your attempt to love them as much as you can. And it's absolutely awesome. You're learning to push your strength. You're lifting weights. You're love running with ankle weights on, and wrist weights, and shoulder weights. And that's probably ideal. That's probably exactly what you should have been doing. But now it's time to learn to take care of yourself a little better. Clear that space out so you can share with someone who really is your equal. They're not attracted to you because you're going to take care of them. They're attracted to you because they're going to take care with you. Please make that prayer and make it again and make it again and make it again next week and the next. Om Dita. And if you don't say you want a relationship reading, I might tend in that direction, but I still ask for what's the most prominent way to be a blessing to you in this moment. You don't need a relationship reading. Om Dita. And that's your relationship reading. I don't think that's what you need right now. It's not what you need to emphasize. You need a little more planning, a loose-knit planning, creative planning, communicating to the world planning. I told you this a couple months ago, and you're coming into the spring, and it's time. Oh, this is beautiful. I can remember. You've been exploring in a way that it's time to take yourself even a step more seriously. Loose, you're wild. Don't try to control it too much. But I'd like you to be a little clearer about what you're trying to create and what you have to say. I've asked you this. It's time that you go through. No, I'm not even going to be that specific. You need to bring more structure to your creativity now as a calling. You have to get your message out. You have to be clear about who you are. It's not time to let someone into that space yet. I'm not going to mess with you. You need that boundary right there. That's where I support you. That's where I trust and respect what you will choose to do with that. Blues and greens. Blues and greens. All right, Mr. Coconut. Oh my God. This is great. So there's an intimate connection between your sacral chakra and your lung chakra. You are in a mature version of Lucas. You bear burdens for people as a way of loving them. I know this about you, but it's really tangible right now. And I just got this beautiful visual metaphor. You're like a coconut. You have milk, coconut milk. You have coconut, the fruit on the sides, and you've got, aspects of you that are the dried, rich, sweet coconut that you scrape off and takes a lot more work to get at. And you're giving the different gifts in you all in all different directions. You're not united. You're spreading yourself out. And because you're spreading yourself out, you're never really present with the beauty of it, the beauty of who you are. You're like bouncing between exchanges and they're not integrating. You know this, but I can't emphasize enough that right now it's really important that you address this loving people as bearing their burdens. As ever, I encourage this in your past first. You have every right to say no to ongoing contracts with people from your past in which you bear their burden, in which they remember you as an energy they wanted to get rid of. And when they do that, you're sort of saying yes. You're saying, yes, I love you. I'll do that for you. And it's a burden. Say no to it. You need to do that for a while. And unite yourself where you are, because in many cases, your case in particular, make this about people from your past first. Don't make this about the relationships that you're in yet. Usually the relationships you're in are actually closer to health than the relationships you left. Something else. Yeah, no, that's really important. You're blaming your current relationship for problems that were more pronounced in your past, and you're forgiving people in your past, and it's taking a toll on you. It's forgiveness. It's not really forgiveness. It's like you're giving people a pass. You can forgive them, but you have to recognize that they were treating you even worse. Put that where it belongs. Three. So you have suffered really deeply in a way that was, I'm hesitating to say what's very clear. What I see clearly is that you have suffered greatly in a Christ-like way, with a little bit of an edge, in that you've really taken the hits and you've turned the other cheek. And you need to be known in that. God bless you. If we can do that with you here, even, at least we can see it, can start it. I see how deeply I did not say anything to you, Siri. She's making me take it less seriously, apparently. I don't know if that got through, but it must have. That was hilarious. I see you. You made that choice. You made that choice to suffer for people you loved. And it was the greatest gift you could give them. And they didn't say thank you. And they didn't know you. And you're a little lost there. Come back. For real. Join us. I see that you did that. That was love Olympics. That was love acrobatics. That's not the way I want you to love now. You did that. You developed that. Now, what is your love? You were subconsciously afraid that you'll do that again, because in a way you know yourself with the greatest intensity of love in those spaces. And there is no shame in not wanting to suffer in that way again. Not only is there no shame, you're not supposed to. Stop it. You're not allowed to do that anymore. That's not what you're here for. It's not what it's time for. You need to say no to that before you're going to be really present with the people you love right now. Not just romantic, the closest family as well. Even your closest friends, you're a little lost. Come back. Join us. Thank you for being you. You're welcome, Omdita. I love you helped me face one of my challenges, Omdita, in that I really want to always share exactly the right amount. And I seem to get very clear messages with you, like how much to share and when it's like, no, that's your space. You don't need me telling you any more than that. Like it alleviates one of my concerns that I never get too much in people's business. And it's really pleasant for me to see you becoming you. Business. Yeah, for real. Nose tip. You get headaches, right? You do. Back here in particular, like around, it looks like it's up and down, but I really encourage you to be here. You need to take better care of yourself. I know this is vague, but I swear to you, this is absolutely what you need to prioritize. You need to take better care of yourself. You need to stop sitting in discomfort. You need to stop putting up with tensions when your system is trying to tell you how to take a little space, take a little stretching. I always say the same things. Walk around the block, walk around the block, walk 2 blocks, walk more. Walk more. You need to cut up, interrupt your day when you have the chance to do simple, brief things to take care of yourself and scale them up and use your nose tip chakra. What that means is you breathe here, you focus here, you tune in here, and you start to learn about how that changes your attention. And that will help you make better choices about simple things you need to do. Incidentally, this is a very important chakra in integrating the other chakras. It works with the heart chakra really well. It amplifies the heart chakra very powerfully. So you're stuck because you're trying to love others, but you're not loving yourself enough. And this built-in sense that loving others is better than loving yourself is a big part of the problem. If you take better care of yourself, you'll have more strength and more presence and more will to love others better. You need to trust that. And look, I know that goes for many people. It does. So if it resonates for you, do trust that. But don't sit here and follow every piece of advice I give everyone just because it might make sense. I'm telling people, one of my gifts is not to know necessarily astounding things, but to help you prioritize what I believe will best help you. Aha. Yes, business. I didn't see that your second post. I've been dealing with heartburn, but I can tell you right away, you've been dealing with heartburn because you're not taking good enough care of it yourself. The energy's not moving because your nose tip chakra is totally congested. No, nope. It's not the avocado toast. The avocado toast is fine. You're not loving yourself enough. You're not taking, and the best way to love yourself is to take better care of yourself. Give yourself these simple things: water, walks, 5-minute yoga breaks. Stop staring at things that hurt your eyes. Incidentally, these are good things for everybody. I know what I just said, but they are good things for everyone. Nilam. Nilam. Oh, bless you, 3-3. All right, Nilam. He's trying not to hurt me now. It's the first thing I get. That's true. And you need to stay strong and present. Looks to me like you try to use your optimism to deal with negative situations. You're using it's too mental. It's very beautiful. It's very strong. Nonetheless, you need to be realistic about the challenges in your life. You need to be more aware. And don't expect things to be different than they are. From there, you pray into the roots. To change things is not to cover them up with positivity. It looks to me like this is a real challenge for you. So basically, you need a pause. It looks to me like you're going from negative situation into trying to identify the positive immediately. You still do that, but in between, you need to ask, how can you take distance to take care of yourself? Don't try to make up immediately. Take some space. Take care of yourself in that space and be realistic so you don't allow negative patterns to continue with a false sense of optimism about what they are. That's it. That's it. In fact, business, were you just sitting in discomfort? Because that was the first thing I tuned into. No. Laziness does not exist. Watch this again, business. I don't know if you were here. Laziness does not exist. There's no such thing as laziness. There's just resistance to what you think you should be doing. So when people get lazy, I want you to don't drag yourself into whatever you used to be doing. Look for how you can change what you used to be doing to be more aligned with whatever deep message in you is saying that doesn't work for me anymore. The reason why I love the way I'm teaching yoga class, Monday, 3:30 every week. The reason why I love this is because I'm trying to introduce you to a range of options. So developing practices where I can keep moving if that's what I need while you stay still, because that's what you learn to recognize you need. People call themselves lazy when a part of you is rejecting what your mind is suggesting you should do. And then your mind starts saying you're lazy. It's an awful self-judgment, borderline abusive dynamic. Stop it. Yoga that gives space for yin, yang, fast, slow, long, short. Find yourself in that. Nothing that you'd call lazy will continue. But sometimes, and honestly, walking, what I got is that you need to walk for right now and come back slowly to a yoga routine or a workout routine when you're sure you love it. But let transition what you're calling lazy into walking. I think you'll be happy. Yep. Yep. Learn to follow those sensations, business. And the best thing I can suggest and encourage is anything weird. I'm a little all over the place today in a way that I like. Wow. Thank you for all the likes, guys. I really appreciate it. Weird sensations, breathe with them and let them learn about them. Don't try to make weird, even slightly painful things disappear. Don't do that. Tune into them. Say what? A weird sensation, say what? What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to communicate to me? To yourself, to your own chakra, to your own spirit. And what that involves is you try to feel it and breathe. What that means is you're harmonizing your breathing to the sensation, to the resonance. And that might mean getting very shallow, holding your breath some until you measure at what rhythm of breath can I continue to feel that feeling. And the feeling will change. What you might have called weird or what might be painful will become something else entirely. When you align your physical body, the breath is the bridge between spirit and body. When you align your physical body with the movement of these lungs, with the sense of the resonance, you realign yourself and the tensions change. The balance changes in a way that exposes that this thing that you thought was painful or weird is neither. It's something else entirely. It's something foreign. What is it? Tune in, Be patient. Give yourself space to learn to recognize a new intuition about something you can do. And it builds on itself. The more you do this, the more you want to do this, the more it becomes instinctive to tune into new sensations and be curious. Even if it's a little uncomfortable, painful, you have like the experience that it's worth it. And it gets easier every time, and you start to look for magic. You start to look for magic in anything that's an anomaly, anything that's unusual, and you start to get it more and more. Reinforces itself. So I have a strong sense that this is what's happening with your nose. When you recognize weird sensations there, tune in, breathe, then see what you need to do. And that this advice really does go for most of you. It really does. Having a real hard time reading today. Pariva, what a beautiful name. Renuka, you've been here. Have you? I feel like I did that before. I don't know if that was deja vu. Whoa. Okay. Now look, I'm going to tell you this. No, I can't tell you that way. It's too strong. You don't trust your own right to slow things down. It's like you're defining a boundary and then you're going like this and letting people press into it. I would like everyone here to reinforce this, because this is absolutely, she needs it. You have every right to your boundaries. You have every right to your pace. You have every right to your standards. I want you to imagine yourself sitting at the edge of a beautiful wall, protecting a gorgeous garden. No one is allowed into this garden who you don't invite into this garden. No one. No one. And they don't get to push at the fence and keep you scared. They don't get to make you cringe by the side because they like how beautiful your garden is. They keep their distance. I pray that you feel and retain a sense of that presence and strength. May anyone who threatens your boundaries in these ways bounce back on themselves, be distracted, and go away. May you attract people who respect you and cherish you and honor both your boundaries and the rhythm of your natural dance. So, Brisness, I'd encourage you to just really respect that. I think that that's actually best for you right now. Just shift your respect. You're not being lazy. You're going on walks with your dog. Maybe do more of them, maybe not. Your dog will love you for it. Bless you, Larry. Thank you for being here. So much. Thank you, Pariva. Samarpan. Love it. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you asked for support in that way. Wow, look at our timing. Lovely. And thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I look forward. I'm going to try to have a celebration Thursday night to celebrate 1,000 subscribers. I hope I actually have 1,000 subscribers then. If I don't, I'm going to do the celebration anyway and just pester you to go ask people to subscribe. Well, I don't know, whatever. I'm going to pour a beer. Ithaca Flower Power. I love this beer. It's my favorite beer. Can you believe it? It's a hilarious joke. Wildflower Fire. They have this great beer that's flower power. So I'm going to have a beer. I'm going to make a chocolate chip cookie. We're going to have a party. I'm going to tell you some things that I've wanted to share for a long time. Thank you. Thank you. If you have anything else to say, I'm in a good mood, but I'm not going to, I don't have any more agenda. Word. You guys are wonderful. Thank you, Business. And you know what? I'm someone who has had an out of proportion conception of who I am. So sometimes like too small, sometimes too big. And something about participating in straightforward challenges that other people appreciate and participate in, I'm taking so much joy from this. It's like, it feels really good to sense that I've worked for something for 3 years in a way I respect. I haven't been doing things I don't respect to get attention. And I feel like the people who are here are consistently really wonderful. I get great comments. I get great participation in the classes. People are coming back and they're learning and they're appreciating me in a way that feels empowered. And so this is a threshold that I'm really glad to meet and reach. It's exciting. No, Lucas, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Because, I do learn about people and I learned that sometimes I mischaracterize things or at the very least say things in a way that isn't. I knew there was something. Thank you for sticking around and saying that because I felt a lingering here. I'm not necessarily suggesting you spend all your time trying to take care of other people. What I'm suggesting is when you face another person, your flames, you're blending. And when you blend, you're identifying parts of them as yourself. I'm suggesting that this is fundamentally an act of love. You wouldn't be doing this if you weren't very loving. I understand that you might not live it that way. So you can set that aside for the moment. What I'm suggesting is when you're intimate with another person, you're ending up you're calling part of them you. And you're calling negative parts of them you. I want you to get deep enough that you can learn to recognize that the only reason that I know of that people do this is because they're very loving and they're trying to love even better. And from there, you can learn to say no to the parts that aren't you with a recognition that it's not really the best way to love someone else. My mother communicates this as when people are in a dark pit, they often want your company. When you join them in the dark pit, they're often so excited that you're there that it feels really good for a little bit. There's a fire. It's like it's warm. But the fact of the matter is, if they keep finding ways to be kind of okay where they are, but where they are is kind of stuck in a pit, then that's not necessarily the best way to love them. I'm suggesting to you that metaphorically, you're doing this. You don't know that you're doing this, but because you're strong, you're able to reach people where they are, even when they're in dysfunctional spaces. And they like that about you. You even remember things with positivity that are essentially a little bit dysfunctional for you. So I want you to do this. I want you to do this more. I don't want you to be paranoid. You're going to be fine. You're going to be great at this. You're already quite strong as an individual and you have a wide range of an ability to move around spiritually. You know how to connect. So to get better at that is to say, when I share deeply with other people, I disengage and I pray for them, but I don't retain their resonance as if it's mine. I hope that makes it better. I feel like it's not perfect yet, but that's why you can come back next week. Yeah, I have to tell you, Lucas, I'll even add this. I am a little biased, like for the people who are here. Like I take your side. I see the most positive versions of you in many cases. But I think I'm right on this. I think that you are fundamentally strong and loving. You're not consciously necessarily trying to do this, but I think the inadvertent effect of how you're interacting with people is that you're kind of bearing too much. And it's going to take some time to change that. But it accounts for the mental confusion you referred to. I can see it. There's red in your mind too much. Like you're carrying heavy stuff in your thoughts that you didn't make. So work with that a bit and come back and ask more. Awesome. All right, let's see. Is there anything else to say? I don't think there's anything else to say. Do yoga, love life, drink water, get out on a walk. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of days. I have a very intense video that I'm editing. I'm editing the flood video. I don't know if you saw my my flood live cast, but I'm editing it into something shorter, designed to be shared. Yesterday was hard. It was difficult because it's heavy material. So this is coming out. I really believe people need to hear it. I really believe it needs to be shared and spread. You tell me what you think. Watch this one, because this was a bit of a burden to bear, and I've avoided sharing it for a long time. So that's coming out. Yay. What a celebration. But it's honestly the best way I know how to love people. You know, the world is changing a lot. Many areas of the world are not as safe as they used to be at all because of the weather. And I want to help people. I want you to learn to recognize that tuning in to yourself tunes you into making the right choices. Tuning into yourself, taking care of your body, taking care of your spirit, taking care of your emotions, and the mental emotional relationship you have to your life puts you in a better space to have intuitions about where to live, what to dream of. And I hope I'm making that in a way that's coherent, in a way that reaches people, because it's the best way I know to love. Thank you again. I will see you soon. Much love. Have a wonderful day.